Hello there, this is Jim Kelsey, and thank you for taking the time to stop by my YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a little break from Star Wars collecting and talk about another one of my favorite type of hobbies, and that is model airplane kits. And so today's topic will either be the first of several videos, I'm not sure how many I'll be compiling, but it will be displaying talking about my entire 1/144th U.S. fighter plane collection, beginning with the P-35 and going sequentially in order all the way up to the current Lockheed F-35. So without further ado, let me go ahead and take you to the display case where I'll show you all the planes as they sit currently and then talk about each one a little bit individually. So here we have the display cases here. These are two IKEA cabinets that I purchased many years ago. And so beginning on the one on the left, start off with some World War II bombers. Some of the bombers don't fit in here like the B-29, so they're not in this case. Then the second shelf down, we start with the P-35. So we have our World War II fighters, some of the test fighters that only had one production run. There you see an ornament of the Curtiss Jenny that I made for my father-in-law many years ago that he's now passed on, and it sits here in the display case. Going all the way down, we have some Cold War era jets, and then at the very bottom, the U.S. spy planes from the Cold War. Going to the next cabinet, again at the top, we have some more World War II bombers, and then we start the Century series. A lot of F-101s, as that was my dad's favorite plane. Moving down, we end the Century series with the new Department of Defense designations with the F-1 all the way down to now we get to the F-35, and then again some more Cold War era bombers. The book that I will be referencing during this video will be U.S. Fighters by Lloyd S. Jones. And this is a copy of a version that my dad had when I was a child that I was completely fascinated with, and what really started this 25-year project. Started this in 2004, or no, I'm sorry, 1984, and then finished in about 2010. And I guess as a kid, what fascinated me was seeing the side-by-side planes from the P-1, which came out in 1925, all the way through the Bell XP-77. At least that's on this inside cover. And then on the reverse cover, we have there the XP-79 going all the way through what was then the McDonnell Douglas F-18. So anyway, I just thought, boy, this is fascinating, seeing all these planes side by side. What would it be like if you could actually had a model of them all? So on the display case or tablet, there is the Seversky P-35. The Saverski eventually became the Republic Company, and this was produced in 1936. It was the first all-metal fighter that the U.S. Army Air Force produced or contracted out, and it had the first that had retractable landing gear. It had a top speed of just over 300 miles per hour and 12,000 feet, wingspan of 36 feet, length of 25 feet, and a height of 12 feet. And I think it goes without saying that this was already an inferior plane compared to what the Japanese and the Germans were producing around the same time. But it's a cute fighter nonetheless. I think, what they would call a tail dragger. This model was produced by Kami de Korokoro of Japan. It's a resin model. I did this in 2009, and he also produced the decals for the plane. Some of the stars you can get through various other companies. So like Minicraft or Squadron, many of them produce their own decal sheets that you can purchase if you're wanting to customize your planes. And I will leave notes in the description for these model kits in case you'd like to purchase them for yourself. Now the next plane is the Curtiss P36 Hawk. This is the A version. It's a white metal kit made by Reviresco. So white metal means it's pewter. And it's a very, very beautiful kit. Nice molding, easy to construct. Everything's super glued together. The decals were customized by myself. Again, I got the stars from another sheet that I bought separately, and the letters from a U.S. Air Force letter sheet where you just cut them out and stick them down individually. And then some of these, like the Native American symbol there, you just print out on your printer and then using decal paper. The P36 Hawk was one of many, many planes that Curtiss produced, and probably the most famous was the P40. So each one was an incarnation off this original design as they kept trying to improve the plane, but never quite succeeded in getting a plane as fast as the P51 or the P47. And in fact, this plane was already outclassed by the time it was in production. It began production in 1937 and was one of the first planes when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor to be used during World War II. It had a wingspan of 34 feet 4 inches, a length of 28 feet 6 inches, and a height of 12 feet 2 inches. Its top speed was just barely over 300 miles an hour. I think it was like 313, if I'm not mistaken. Now here we have the YP-37. This again is a Curtiss plane. So the next incarnation of the P-36. And this is a white metal model made by Reviresco as well. I built this in 2011. And the Y stands for prototype. Now I want to compare the two planes here. So here we have the P-36 and the YP-37. So you'll notice that the canopy is moved clear to the back, and this was because the U.S. Army Air Force wanted to try an inline engine. It was an Allison V1710, and so it must have been big enough that you couldn't put the cockpit way up front, so it had to move to the back. And according to documents, the pilots hated it because of the poor visibility trying to see over that long nose. The paint scheme is because it was used in the Arctic, and so that orange allowed them to be able to see the plane easily against the white snow. Only 37 of these planes were built. It was faster than the P-36 at a top speed of 340 miles per hour. Same size wingspan. Overall length was almost 33 feet. You aircraft aficionados will recognize this plane, the Lockheed P38. This is the J version. The kit is made by Minicraft. It's styrene plastic. I built this in 2008. Decals are also from the Minicraft kit. And this is a very easy kit to find, very easy kit to build. And the P38, of course, was one of the main United States fighters during World War II. Extremely fast at a top speed of 420 miles per hour. So it really served us well until the P-47s and the P-51s came out. Its maiden flight came out in 1939. And this is a quite a bit larger plane. It has a wingspan of 52 feet, an overall length of 37 feet, and a height of almost 13 feet. What made it interesting were the twin booms in the back and also the twin engines up front. And so just in case you lost an engine during the war, the plane could keep going as it had two engines to sustain it, much like the bombers did. So pictured here we have the Bell P36C. This is a kit made by Osmods of Australia. It's a plastic model, styrene plastic. He does a lot of the neat World War II aircraft. And the Bell P39, they made close to 9,000 of these things. In fact, I think a little over 9,000 of these planes. 9,558. Half of them went to Russia under the Lend-Lease program. So when you buy model kits of these, oftentimes you end up having Russian insignias with them. Now, there are three incarnations of this, the P39, the P45, and the P76. And this was originally called the P45, but they changed it to the P39C. And so these planes were equipped with bulletproof windshields as well as self-sealing fuel tanks. They had a top speed of 368 miles per hour. So they weren't as fast as the P38. And it's had a wingspan of 34 feet, length of 30 feet, and a height of almost 12 feet. So compare that with the P38, and you'll see it is a much smaller plane altogether. So here we have one of the most famous aircraft of World War II, the P40. This happens to be the N version of it. This is an ARII kit made of styrene plastic. I built this kit in 2008. Mark Tutton is the gentleman who made the decals, and I think he has a website, Starmaster Decals, if he's still in business these days. I wanted this to go in line with the P40s. It has the shark tooth, or the Flying Tigers have the shark tooth mouth in the front. In fact, I believe that is that aircraft design fits that shark tooth mouth the best out of all of them. So Curtiss tried to many different versions trying to get this aircraft correct. The N probably was one of the faster versions at 378 miles per hour, but they actually went all the way up to the Q. And the Q got up to a speed of 422 miles an hour, but it was still inferior to the rest of the planes that were going close to 500. So there's a picture of the Q in the book there. These planes were, again, in production along with the P36 and were stationed there at Pearl Harbor when Pearl Harbor was bombed. And they really were the backbone of the Army Air Force until we got the faster planes like the P47 and the P51 along. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Press a like and the like button. And the next video I will showcase the P41 through the P49.